Once in a while, something comes along in tech that just completely changes the game. It makes you rethink everything. And, well, we're looking at one of those moments right now. We're talking about a leap in AI that's so big, it's not just about being a little bit better than a human. It's actually starting to redefine what expert even means, especially in a field as critical as medicine. So, yeah, let's get right into it.
All right, look at this. This number right here, this is what this whole story is about. And let's be clear, this isn't some tiny little improvement. What you're seeing is the reasoning advantage a brand new AI, GPT-5, had over actual licensed human doctors. And not just on any old test, but on one of the hardest medical exams ever put together. Just let that sink in. Over 24% better.
And believe me, it gets even crazier when you break it down. That 24.23%, that's just the lead in reasoning. The AI also showed an almost 30% advantage in pure understanding. So look, we are not talking about a glorified calculator that's just good at memorizing textbooks. No way. The research is super clear on this. This is about complex judgment. The kind of thinking that actually saves lives in a hospital. So you're probably wondering, okay, what kind of test are we even talking about here? Well, the proving ground for all of this was an exam called MedXpertQA. And let me tell you, this is not your average multiple choice quiz. This thing was built from the ground up to really push the absolute limits of medical knowledge.
Yeah, MedXpertQA it's a whole different beast. The questions are pulled from specialty boards. We're talking about the kind of stuff that gives even veteran doctors a tough time. The entire point of this exam is to test advanced reasoning, not just remembering facts. To put it simply, if you can nail this test, you are operating at the absolute peak of the medical field, period.
And here's the secret sauce. What really makes this test so brutally hard. It demands something called multimodal reasoning. And honestly, that's just a fancy way of saying it forces the AI to think like a real doctor. Because, a doctor doesn't just look at one thing, right? They have to pull everything together, the clinical notes, the tricky lab results, the x-rays or CT scans, the patient's entire life story, and connect all those dots to figure out what's going on. That's why this isn't just a trivia contest. It's a true test of medical intelligence. Okay, so we've set the stage. We know the test is insanely difficult. So how did GPT-5 actually do? Because the real story here isn't just that it did well. It's the jump in performance from the last version. We're talking about a massive generational leap in what AI can do. Just look at these bars. On the left, you've got the previous generation, GPT-4o. It scored a 40.73%. Okay, respectable, right? But not exactly world-changing. Now look at GPT-5. It shoots up to almost 70%. That is a nearly 30-point jump. This isn't an upgrade. This is a whole new ballgame, a completely different level of performance. Numbers on a chart are one thing, but I think it's way more interesting to see how this AI actually, thinks. So to help us get it, the researchers gave us a perfect example, a real case study that lets us see the AI's logic step by step. Let's walk through it together. So this is what the AI was given to start: an abdominal CT scan. This is the first big piece of the puzzle. It's showing a pretty complicated scene inside a 45-year-old guy who just showed up in the ER. And then it got the text-based info. So we have a 45-year-old man, history of IV drug and alcohol use, and he's been vomiting a lot. But then, hours later, this one critical detail emerges: suprasternal crepitus. That's that crackling feeling under the skin of the chest. It's a really subtle clue, but it's absolutely vital. Okay, and this is where it gets just incredible. The AI puts the pieces together. It connects the dots between the intense vomiting and that new crackling symptom. Right away, it forms a hypothesis: Boerhaave syndrome, which is a super dangerous tear in the esophagus. But it doesn't stop there. It then recommends the exact right test to confirm it, a gastrographin swallow study. And get this, it even explains why other common treatments would be the wrong move here. I mean, that is just top-tier clinical reasoning. All right, this all leads up to the main event, right? The big showdown. We've seen how the AI can think through a tough case, But how does it actually compare, head-to-head, with the human experts who took the exact same brutal exam? So first, let's set the baseline with the last model GPT-4o. On the reasoning portion, it scored around 41%. The human experts, they came in at almost 46%. And this is a really important point. Just one generation ago, the AI was good, but it was still clearly behind the trained human doctors. And now, here's the punchline. The human experts are still holding steady at that 46% mark. But GPT-5, it doesn't just catch up. It blows right past them, hitting nearly 70%. It didn't just close the gap, you guys. It opened up a huge new one. It established, without a doubt, that it was superior on this test. It's just undeniable. And you don't have to take my word for it. The researchers who wrote the paper, they did not hold back. They called this, and I'm quoting them directly here, a qualitative shift, moving from near-human performance to clear superhuman proficiency. I mean, when scientists start using words like superhuman, you know we've crossed some kind of line. Something has fundamentally changed. So what on earth does this all mean for the future of medicine? I mean, if an AI can literally reason better than a human expert on their own test, it brings up some pretty profound questions, right? But before we all get carried away, the researchers themselves made sure to include a really important reality check. They point out in the paper, and it's a huge point, that a clean, standardized test is not the same as a messy, chaotic emergency room, right? These tests are run in these kind of idealized, perfect environments. The real world is full of all this complexity and uncertainty and ethical choices that a test just can't measure. So this AI is an incredible tool, for sure, an unbelievably powerful tool. But it's not a doctor. Not yet, anyway. And that really leaves us with this one big question to chew on. We've clearly crossed some kind of threshold here. We now have proof of a machine that can show superhuman reasoning, at least in this one very specific expert area. So the question we all have to start wrestling with is this. If an AI can reason better than our human experts, who decides what expert even means anymore?